Welcome to Staffworks Explain. If you are here for the first time, please consider subscribing to this channel. You can also hit the notification bell so that whenever you upload a new video, you are notified. In today's video, we'll be talking about construction of Jkia expansion, which is set to begin in June 2026 according to the government officials. Kenya is preparing to begin one of the most significant aviation infrastructure in its history. That is the expansion of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, Jkia, the country's main international gateway. Government officials say construction is expected to start in June 2026, marking the transition from years of planning and debate to actual delivery phase of the project. In this video, we examine what has recently been announced about the expansion, how it will be financed, the scope of the works planned under the airport long-term master plan, and why the expansion is now considered urgent. We will explore the criticism surrounding the project and whether the financing and implementation model which is being proposed makes economic sense. This is a project that has been discussed for years. The expansion of Jkia is not a new idea. For more than a decade, successive governments have acknowledged that the airport is operating close to and sometimes beyond its design capacity. The airport handles the majority of Kenya international air traffic and serves as the main hub for Kenya Airways, which relies on Jkia to connect passengers across Africa, Europe, and the Middle East as well as Asia. However, much of the core infrastructure dates back decades. The airport was opened in 1958, while several improvements have been made. Over time, passengers' growth has steadily outpaced the expansion of facilities. Authorities say the airport now requires large-scale modernization to maintain Kenya's position as a regional aviation hub. Government has already confirmed construction date timeline. The most significant recent announcement came from Davis Chirchir, who is the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport. He confirmed that the expansion of the airport are expected to break ground in June 2026, following the launch of an international procurement process and consultation with stakeholders. According to officials from Kenya Airport Authority (KAA), preparations are underway and they are already at an advanced stage, with planning guided by a long-term 20-year integrated master plan running into 2045. The master plan outlines how Jkia will be expanded in stages while maintaining airport operations during the construction. Now let's look at the new financing model and the question of National Infrastructure Fund being used in this expansion. Another major announcement concerns how the project will be financed. President William Ruto recently confirmed that the Jkia expansion will be first project financed through the newly created National Infrastructure Fund (NIF). The fund is designed to mobilize as much as 5 trillion Kenya shillings over the next 5 decades for large infrastructure projects across Kenya. The idea behind the fund is to shift infrastructure financing away from heavy government borrowing and towards an investment-based model involving domestic institutional investors such as pension funds and insurance companies. To seed the fund, the government has already raised significant capital through the partial privatization of Kenya Pipeline Company. From the transaction between 15 billion and 20 billion Kenya shillings will be allocated as seed capital for Jkia expansion. The government raised more than 105 billion from the sale of a majority stake in the Kenya Pipeline Company, while part of the proceeds earmarked for infrastructure projects including airports, railways, and highways. What exactly is being built? According to the master plan presented by the Kenya Airports Authority (KAA), the expansion will be implemented in 2 major phases. Phase 1 is upgrading of existing infrastructure. The first phase focuses on improving the current facility to quickly increase capacity. This will include upgrade of taxiways. These are the routes that aircraft use to move between runways and terminals. There will be improvement to passenger processing areas such as check-ins, security screening, as well as immigration. There will be better road access and landside infrastructure around the airport. And then there is modernization of digital systems and operational technology. The goal of this phase is to increase the airport handling capacity to around 12 million passengers annually within the first 18 months. Then there is phase 2, which is the major expansion. The second phase involves large infrastructure components. These include construction of a new 4,500-meter parallel runway. There will be a development of a new passenger terminal covering roughly 230,000 square meters, and then an additional aircraft parking stands and airside infrastructure. The new terminal alone is expected to handle an additional 10 million passengers per year once completed. Design plans indicate the terminal will have a next-shaped layout, a configuration commonly used in large international hubs to reduce passenger walking distance and improve aircraft gate access. Importantly, both phases are expected to be implemented concurrently, allowing faster delivery while ensuring that the airport continues operating during the construction. Why is the expansion being labeled as urgent now? The urgency of expanding Jkia is partly driven by intense competition within the region. Several airports in East Africa and the Middle East are investing heavily to attract international traffic. For example, you have Addis Ababa Bole International, which has just undergone major expansion and now serves as the powerful hub for Ethiopian Airlines. Ethiopia is also constructing an airport that will be the largest in Africa, Bishoftu International Airport, which is expected to handle around 110 million passengers per year. Then we have Kigali International Airport, which is now being supplemented by the new Bugesera International Airport project in Rwanda. We have airport that is coming up in Dodoma, Tanzania. In airports such as in the Gulf, particularly Dubai International Airport and Hamad International Airport, also continue to dominate long-haul transit markets. These competing hubs are aggressively expanding capacity and improving passenger experience. If Jkia fails to modernize, Kenya risks losing its position as a regional aviation hub. Previous expansion attempts and controversy. The current government-led model follows early attempts to upgrade the airport through private partnership. At one point, authorities considered proposals involving international airport operators. However, these discussions became politically sensitive and raised concerns about long-term control of a strategic national asset. The new financing approach using the National Infrastructure Fund is partly designed to avoid this controversy by keeping the project under domestic ownership while attracting international investors. Then there is criticism and concerns that have been raised on this expansion. Despite broad support for expanding Jkia, the project has not escaped criticism. Some analysts question whether selling assets or strategic assets such as Kenya Pipeline Company, Safaricom, is the best way to finance infrastructure. Others have raised concern about cost transparency, procurement integrity, and long-term financial sustainability of the infrastructure fund. There are also questions about whether the airport expansion will generate sufficient revenue to justify the scale of investment. Airports typically rely on multiple revenue streams: landing fees, passenger charges, retail concessions, as well as cargo services. This is to recover the infrastructure cost. If passenger growth slows, the financial returns of the project could take longer than expected. Now let's look at the broader vision: an airport city. Another aspect of the master plan is the concept of an airport city around Jkia. This refers to developing commercial facilities near the airport, including hotels, logistics centers, offices, conference facilities. These are to generate additional revenue and attract investment. Many international airports now operate as economic zones rather than simple transport facilities. The government believes that this model could help Jkia compete with the global aviation hubs while supporting Nairobi's position as a regional business center. Now, in conclusion, we can say that Kenya